and I'm here to help you fix it. So every one of us has money problems, whether it's having a hard time paying our bills or putting away money for the future or college or retirement or wanting a new car, whatever it might be. Every single one of us has some sort of money problem. So my question for you is, what's your money problem? Take a minute and in the chat down below, tell me what your money problem is. And there's a lot of them, a lot of potentials out there, a lot of things you can answer. But I'm curious about what it is that you think your problems are. Now, going along with that, and with that idea of you having money problems, I want you to tell you that whatever your thought is and whatever your answer to this question is, you're wrong. It's not your problem. And maybe you were right, maybe you got the right one, but at the end of the day, there's really only two money problems. The first money problem is you spend too much money. Like, a lot of times this is the case for a lot of people, especially if you're taking the time to watch this video. If you're getting to the end of the month and you don't have enough money to pay the bills, you don't have enough money to put into retirement, you don't have enough money to do the vacation you want to do or whatever it might be, buy a bigger house, you probably are spending too much money. So the question becomes, how do we know if the problem is that we spend too much? Well, have an idea about what it costs to live in your area. First, don't just look at the suburb you live in. So if you live in a suburb or if you live in a major city, don't just look at the pocket where you live in. Look at the overall geographic area. So for example, here in Cleveland, I am in a suburb called Mentor. I might not want to look at just what it costs to live in Mentor because Mentor is a little bit more pricey. I might want to look at what it costs to live in Mentor versus living in Painesville versus living in Willoughby versus living in Beechwood versus Geneva and all the areas that are around that are within a decent amount of driving time to get where I need to go. So you can take this greater area we live in and look at what it costs to live there and kind of make this determination of, am I spending more than it should cost based on what other families are spending? Now, on the other side of things, that's problem number one. Money problem number one is that you spend too much money. And that's a very common problem. I think it's the most predominant problem we have in America, is just that people spend too much money. But if that's not you, and that's not the case, then your other problem is simply you do not make enough money. So problem number two is having an income that is just not high enough. This is a problem too, quite frankly, but it's not as big of a problem. We're really the richest nation to ever live. And if you're living here, you're probably making plenty of money. But you may not be making the money that you need to live the standard of living you want. So you run into these two problems of, is my problem that I spend too much, or is my problem that I don't make enough money? And, I kind of touched on it a moment ago. You can look at the demographics and the numbers. The average household in America generates somewhere around $75,000 a year of income. So that's a pretty good income. If you're under that number, you can kind of think, okay, well, I could do to make a little more. If you're over that number, then you can probably sit down and think to yourself, well, I could do to earn a little bit less and just spend less of it, and I'd be okay. I think especially for people who are in really high cost of living places, like in our area, there's a one suburb called Beechwood. It's a fairly expensive place to live. If you're struggling and you're living in Beechwood, maybe you want to sell your house and move somewhere else. But if you're in California and you're in San Francisco and everywhere around there's expensive and it's hard to get by, well, as beautiful as the state is, maybe it's time to leave and go somewhere where you can afford to live. Okay, but those are some easy solutions that kind of come to mind, but maybe they don't solve the problem because you don't want to move. And a lot of people fit into this situation. So if your problem at the end of the month is that you don't have enough money, and you determine that the problem is you just spend too much, there's some really good ways to do it. If you're still paying cable, cancel the cable. Lower your cell phone bill. Look for a different cell phone provider is a good opportunity there. Less streaming services, but the biggest one for most of us is eating out. We can go to eat out a little bit less, cook at home a little bit more. It would help our stomachs too, because those two things kind of go hand in hand a lot of times, eating too much and eating out too much. Those are all some options. Maybe you shouldn't have two cars with two car payments, but just one or zero even. Maybe smaller car payments. Maybe you don't need the Lexus, but the Toyota Camry, which is the same car, could work for you. So some of these decisions that you can make are difficult for us emotionally and mentally because we're often tied to that decision. The example of the Toyota versus the Lexus. For a lot of us, the Lexus is that status symbol. It makes us sit and think to ourselves, I've got a Lexus, that means I'm winning. But the Toyota Camry is the same car. You can easily jump in the Toyota Camry, save yourself a lot of money, and pocket the rest of it for retirement and be okay. So just some things to think about on that. Now, if your problem at the end of the day is that you just need to earn more, I'll give you a couple tips and I'll give you some advice. If you have a job and you're an employee of somewhere, find out what it would take to get an advancement. Sit down with your boss, have a conversation, just tell them, hey, I'm a little, I really like working here. I don't want to leave. I'm a little bit underpaid. I want to know what I can do to take those next steps and get a pay raise. If you do that and they help you set up an action plan, then in 3 months, you can go back to them and you can say, look what I've done. Can I get that pay raise now? And they kind of helped you say that, if you do these things, we'll give you a pay raise. And now you can go back and say, I've done these things. You can maybe get that pay raise. Promotions work the same way. If you want to get a promotion, you can always go and say, what do I need to do to get to this next level? And set up that action plan, work through the action plan, and then come back and say, all right, here's the action plan. Here's what I've done. I'm ready to move on to that next level now and try and get that promotion. Another thing is, quite frankly, in this market right now, this is a great time to change jobs. So if you're in a situation where you're underpaid, even if you really like where you work, it might not be a bad idea to just say, you know what, time to jump ship. A lot of companies are paying higher now for new hires than they are paying for people who worked for them for a while. So it's a really good idea to maybe look and explore the idea of changing companies at this moment. You could even do that with the hopes of saying, I have this job offer, boss, but I like it here. I don't want to leave, but I'm going to take this job offer unless you can match it. And now what you've done is you've given yourself an opportunity to actually walk away. So it's one thing to go into your boss's office and say, I need a raise. But it's another thing to be able to say, I need a raise or I'm leaving. And that gives you a little bit of gambling chip and a gambling power. It's kind of like buying a car. You go into a car dealership needing a car, they're going to rake you over the coals. But if you go into a car dealership knowing that you do not need to buy a car today, you're going to be okay. And you have that opportunity to negotiate with them for a week or two. Well, if you have a job waiting in the background, then when you go into your employer and you say, I need a raise, this is what this other employer is offering me. I like it here. I don't want to leave. Maybe even I'm willing to take less than they're offering me, but I got to get more than I've got now. It puts you in a position to where you have some negotiation power. So those are some real good recommendations. Another recommendation for raising your pay, and I love this one, is simply start a business. It doesn't have to be a full-blown office space, professional business. It could just be something on the side. It could be, maybe you're a mechanic and you're thinking to yourself, I want to start a side business, so I'm going to work on lawnmowers for my friends and fix their lawnmower engine so they don't have to go buy new ones. At the end of the day, whatever you choose to do or whatever you're able to do, you don't need to make a lot of money on a side business. You just need to make a little bit of money. So let me think about it this way. This is how I kind of address my income when I want to see my money raised. I look at it from a viewpoint of there's 30 days in a month. There's about 22 days a month that we work and can make money. If I want to get an extra $200 a month, I need to find a way on a work day to make $10. Just $10 a day. That's all it takes. And now we're okay. Now, if you're looking for a side job, then what your goal is maybe to find a way to make $10 per day over the course of the whole 30 days. Maybe that's one person paying you $300 to do something. Maybe it's 10 people paying you 30. And all of a sudden you're there. It's not a huge, difficult thing to do. It just takes a little bit of work to get started. I think when it comes to raising your pay, one of the best things I've ever heard was a video by Steve Harvey. And what he said is the way you get rich is you find a way today to make $1. And then you make $1 every day for a few days. And once you've consistently learned how to earn $1, then you have to learn how to make $10 a day. And you learn how to make $10 a day. You make $10 a day for a couple weeks. And then you learn how to do that 10 times more. So now instead of earning $10 a day, you make $100 a day. And now if you get to that point where you're making $100 a day, that's a really good income. It's not great. It's $3,000. But it's a really, really good income. It's not 70,000 a year, but you're getting there. And if you can do that one more time, now you're up to 300,000, which is fantastic income, puts you in about the top 4%. So I don't really coach a lot of people to get to $300,000 a year income. I want to help you if you're at 50 and you want to get to 70. That's kind of what I want to help see you get. So it's not a hard, big step. So now that we've kind of talked a little bit about that and I've broken down that there are 2 money problems, 2 more questions for you. Drop them down below. The first question is, what is your money problem? Is it that you don't make enough? Or is it that you spend too much of what you make? Question number 2, what are you going to do to fix that problem? Go out there today, right now, figure out a way to fix that problem, whether it's making a little bit more money or whether it's cutting down on your spending a little bit. I think both of them, for just about every single person listening, both of those things are going to be easy to do if you choose to do them. Not that you're going to want to do them, not that you're going to have the willpower to do it constantly, but both of those things, if you chose to do them, you could do pretty easily. You just have to actually go out there and choose to do it. So this is my Thursday tip for you. I've been trying to be very active this week and give you a lot of videos. So if you like them, do me the favor, hit the like button and hit the share button so we can get this information into more people's hands. Thank you guys and have a great day.